وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ولي الصالحين أشهد أن سيدنا وحبيبنا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. So we're still in Hadith Jibreel. Last time, in the first lecture, we talk about the Hadith in general. The second one, we start with the Islam. We talk about Shahada and we talk about Salah. Today we want to talk about Zakah, because Siyam is very common for many people, but Zakah, there is a lot of misconceptions around Zakah. One of the pillars of Islam is to give Zakah. We have two terms in Quran for Zakah. We have Zakah and we have Sadaqah. Sadaqah, for many people, they thought just voluntary. That's not. Sadaqah in Quran come for both meaning. خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً means zakah. إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتُ لِلْفُقَرَاءِ means zakah. So we have sadaqah, we have zakat. Let me talk first about linguistically, because Arabic language, one of the features of Arabic language, there is always a connection between the word and the root, the meaning of that. For example, zakah in Arabic language, Zakah yazku, has three meanings. Number one is to purify. Allah said, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُطَهِّرُهُمْ وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ بِهَا. Take a zakah from their money, then you cleanse them and you purify their souls. So zakah, yes, يتزكى, it means purify. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. One of the missions of Rasulullah ﷺ, يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ, purify his followers. So that's number one, purify. Number two, zakah, yuzakki, it means to grow up. Arab said, zakah zar'u, the plants. Zakat in plant means the grow up, increase. Number one, purify. Number two, increase or grow up. Number three, zakah yasku, it means praise someone. Allah said, فَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ, don't praise yourself. So these three meaning, purify, increase or grow, and third, praise. Why Islam choose this zakah for this term? When you give zakat, you purify your soul from stinginess. You purify your soul from stinginess. You purify the soul of the poor people also from jealous. So that's the purification. You purify also even your money. Especially nowadays, our money will mix with a lot of things. When you give zakat, Allah will purify your wealth. Number two, increase or grow. When you give zakat, your wealth will increase. Either in dunya, by blessings, by barakah, or in akhirah, that every single penny, Allah will multiply it for you. And the last one, zakah yazku, is praising. All the society praise you because you help society. And the most important, Allah Almighty will praise you in the day of judgment. So that's the meaning of zakat, purification, increase in barakah, and praising. We have another word which is sadaqah. In Quran, sadaqah sometimes means zakah. Sadaqah comes from sidq. Sidq means honesty. So, truth. When you give zakah, that's a proof that you are honest. That a proof that you are ready to sacrifice anything in the sake of your Lord. Allah put the love of money in our nature. وَأُحْضِرَتِ الْأَنفُسُ الشُّحْ. We love money, that's our nature. So when you sacrifice this and give it to poor people, that means it's a proof of honesty, that you are a truthful person. Sadaqah, zakah is the pillar number 3 in Islam. Many times in Quran, salah and zakat always come together. يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة. إقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة. Always together. Just to show the significance of zakah. Because everyone can understand the importance of salah. Because you devote to your Lord, you beg your Lord, you mention His name, you pray to Him. That's understandable. But for zakah, give your money, share of your money to poor people. Allah counted as a pillar of Islam. This need a lot of emphasis. That's why Allah always mentioned with salah. Because salah is haqqullah, is the right of your Lord. Zakah is the right of your brothers and sisters. Islam is a religion that always emphasizes on social matters. That's why if you look at zakah, because it's very important matter, all the anbiya in the past, you'll find they pray, they give zakah, they fast, and they go to Hajj. For example, Allah mentioned Ismail long time ago. Allah said in Surah Maryam, كان يأمر أهله بالصلاة والزكاة. Ismail used to encourage his family to pray and to give zakah. It means zakah and salah is in all the prophets, because salah is between you and your Lord, and zakah is to help others. Because Muslims believe that my money is not mine, it's from Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. He gave it to me, and He is the one who tell me, give it to your brother or sister if they are in need. So it's one of the pillars of Islam that I always mention with salah. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala mentioned also that those who deny to give their zakah in the day of judgment, they will have severe punishment. They will come to the day of judgment and they will see their money as a gold or silver, or if they have camels or sheep or goats, they will see them in the day of judgment, and they will come, and that gold and silver will put in the hellfire, and then will touch their bodies in severe punishment because you don't care about others. Islam came to free you from this stinginess, this greed. That's why Muslims always should give. As-sadaqatu burhan. Giving is a proof that you are a Muslim, a good believer. That you are a good believer. Islam wants to society to live in amazing way. Imagine there is no zakah, and all poor people, they look at the rich people with all this money, and they are in need. That's why zakah is strength the ties in brotherhood between Muslims in society. So zakah is very, very important. Some misconceptions of zakat, some people, they misconception when they come to the zakah. Number one, he usually said, some young people, I pray 5 times a day. I never miss any salah. But I'm a businessman. If I don't give zakat, is that a big problem? Yes, it's a big problem. Because you are servants of Allah. The one who tell you to pray is the one who tell you to give zakat. They are same. But because salah doesn't take anything from you, because you can pray, you can thank your Lord, but when you give zakat, you sacrifice something. Your nafs and your shaitan tell you, that's your money. You spend all the time to collect that money, and now you give it to someone else. Shaitan came to you with this. So if you give it, it means the love of Allah is number one. Your priority is very clear. Number two, one of the misconceptions, some people said, can we we pay taxes in this country. So they can we count our zakat from taxes? No, you can't. You can't at all. Why? Because we learn later that zakat has a system in Islam. You can't give your zakat to anyone in the street. There's some recipients Allah mentioned in Quran, give zakat to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 till 8. It's not to anyone. So you can't give zakat from your taxes. Number three, some people ask, I'm in the bank, sometimes they give me interest. I don't use, but I want to pay my zakat from that interest. Can I do it? No, you can't. Interest is not yours. Should not involve interest. But if they give you interest, don't keep it in the bank. Don't give it to the bank. Take it, but give it to others. But don't give it as your zakat. It's not your money. Fourth, some people said, okay, I want to give my zakat to my children or my parents. Is that allowed? No. You can't give your zakat to your parents or your children. There's some recipients. You have to give zakat to them. So, another also something, can a Muslim, if a Muslim didn't give zakat, can a Muslim live all the life and he never gives zakat in his life and he go to Jannah? Yes, he can. Because zakat is not obligatory for every single Muslim. Zakat has conditions. Not anyone. You can find very pious people, they live all their life and they never give zakat. Because zakat has certain conditions. What's the certain conditions? First of all, in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he divides zakat to, there's 4 types of wealth people should give zakat from. They're called zakatable money. 4 types of wealth. Number 1, gold and silver or cash nowadays. Gold and silver or cash. Number 2, if you have cattle, camels, goats, sheep, cows, that's number 2, which is the majority of the wealth of Arab in the time of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Number 3 is business and trading. Number 4 is what comes from the earth. If you have a farm, what comes from that farm, you have to give zakat. So that's 4 types of wealth. Usually people nowadays in Manchester, they don't have. If you have farms and you are Muslim here, you have to give 10%. If the farm it just grow by raining. But if you do effort to bring the water for that farm, then it's 5%. That's number 1. If you have farm or land in your back home, what comes from that land, regardless if it comes twice a year, you have to give whatever it gives, comes from that land, you have to give 10%. If it's from raining, depend to the rain. If you make effort, 5%. That's farming. Number 2, if you have camels, or goats, or sheep, or cows, you have to give zakat also. There's in details, we don't go to give that because I don't think anyone here has camels. Anyone? Goats, sheep, cows. So, for example, if you have camels, if you have 5 or more, you have to give zakat. Less than 5, you don't have to give. Sheep or goats, you have to own 40 or more. Less than that, no zakat. Cows, you have to own 30. Less than that, no zakat. So you find here, there's one condition in zakat. There's a certain amount of wealth you should have. If you have less than that certain amount, you don't have to give zakat. Yes.
I was going to ask, what about if someone has like excess number of cars or excess number of houses that they don't use?
We talk about that. Now we talk about that. We come to that. So you can find here a certain amount of wealth, not anyone. So suppose in the time of Rasulullah or even now, someone who has camels, there's a certain amount. 5 is the less. Less than 5, you don't have to give. Cow, 30, sheep or goat, 40. Silver or also there's a certain amount also. Only there's no certain amount is what comes from the land that you should give straight away. So we talk about the land, 10% or 5%. We talk about the cattle, there's a lot of details. I have a very long series in fiqh, Masjid al-Furqan, every Friday between Maghrib and Isha. You can follow it in YouTube, channel Masjid al-Furqan, fiqh lesson. Number 3, so this cattle, this what comes from the land, and we want to focus on these 2 things. Number 1 is cash. If you have cash, you have to give money with 2 conditions. Number 1, you have a certain amount of cash. We call it in fiqh Nisab. Nisab is the minimum certain amount of money. If you have that amount or more, you have to give zakat. If you have less, zakat is not obligatory for you. That's condition number 1, certain amount which is called Nisab. The second condition is to have that certain amount of money for saving. You save that certain amount for 1 year. If you need that certain amount of money for any of your business in that, you don't have to give zakat. Zakat is just for saving. What's that certain amount? So 2 conditions. What's the first one? Nisab, certain amount of money. Second, save that certain amount for 1 year. What's that certain amount? It's very simple equation. In the time of Rasulullah there is no cash. The money that time is just from gold or silver. Gold and silver used as a money that time. So Rasulullah said, if you have 20 mithqal, that amount of gold, give zakat. If you have that amount of silver, give zakat. In the time of Rasulullah he gave 2 nisabs, one for gold, one for silver. In the time of Rasulullah the 2 nisabs are same. So he said 20 mithqal of dhahab, of gold, or 200 dirham of silver. That time the 2 nisabs are same. But in our modern time, fidda and gold and silver are so different now. Silver become very cheap, very cheap. Gold very expensive. So that's why if we apply to the time of Rasulullah, we'll find that nisab of fidda is different than nisab of dhahab. For example, if we do calculation, then we'll find the nisab of dhahab is this equation. Please write it down. Just 85 times 1 gram of gold. That's the equation of nisab al-dhahab. How did they make that? That's a big story. But the modern scholars nowadays do a lot of, one of that is they collect the old gold, old dinar of gold, which we have now in some theaters, and they try to know what's this, how much it will cost. It's a long story. 85 times 1 gram of gold. So what you need is just go to the Google and ask how much 1 gram of gold, or ask any woman next to you. She will answer straight away. How much 1 gram of gold? If you can Google it now, please, and tell me how much. In the UK, how many? 1 gram of gold. 64? You agree with that? Okay, 64 times 85. Do that for me. 64 times 85. So 5,440. Say 5,400. That's the nisab of gold. If you have 5,400 saving for 1 year, you have to give zakah. If you have less than that, you don't have to give zakat. That if we take a gold as a nisab nowadays. Does that make sense? But we have another nisab which is silver. Bear in mind, in the time of Rasulullah they are saying, time of fidda is this equation 600, they say 595, but I will say 600. 600 times 1 gram of silver. Gram of silver is very cheap. If you can Google 1 gram of silver, if you do that, it will come around 400. So bear in mind now, if we take the nisab al-fidda, it's 400. If we take the gold nisab, it will be 5,000. That's why scholars, modern scholars, they have 2 opinions. One said go to the silver one. A lot of Asian scholars nowadays in the UK, they go to the silver. They say if you have 400 or more saving for 1 year, you have to give zakah. Majority of scholars around the world, they will go to the gold one. They will say if you have 5,000 or more, if you have less, you don't have to give zakat. Why they go to the gold one? They say gold is more stable than silver. That's number one. Number two, in the time of Rasulullah, he gave a nisab for gold, for silver, for camels, for goats. All has nisab. If we look at the nisab of camels, which is 5 camels, how much the camels nowadays? It's around 1,000 pounds, 1,300 times 5. It will become similar to the gold nisab nowadays. Does that make sense? So they say in the time of Rasulullah, all the nisabs are similar. If we go to silver, that's very cheap. And anyone nowadays can save 400. 400 is nothing nowadays. So that's why the Majma' al-Fiqh al-Islami, the main council in Muslim in Jeddah, they said gold is more appropriate. So it's up to you. Anyway, so if you have 5,000 saving for 1 year, you have to give 2.5%. Let me take these examples. I have now 5,000. And after 6 months, also, I have another 5,000. After next year, I save all of this 10,000 till 1 year. How much I should give? So the majority of scholars say collect all together, 10,000. So give 10,000, 2.5%. 250 pounds, that's right. So look, if you earn 10,000 saving, you don't need it for 1 year. You just have to give 250 for poor people. And it will purify your wealth, purify your soul, purify the poor, they look at you. Another example. I have 10,000 right now. After 6 months, I need to buy a car. So I bought a car, now I have 0. Do I have to give zakah? No. You have to save it for 1 year. It means you don't need it for 1 year. Is that clear? So that's the zakat. Zakat, it means something just out of your need. Allah Almighty, out of His mercy, didn't tell us to give what we need. No. We save it for 1 year. It means we don't need it. So that's very important. Another hukum in zakat. If that's now the cash. So whatever you have in the cash, if you save it, calculate it all, and just take 2.5% and to give it to recipients which Allah Almighty specify one by one. Don't give it to your parents, don't give it to your children. Anyone else you can give it to, but not your parents and your children. Why? Because if your children, you have to give them from your own money, not from your zakah. If your parents are poor, you have to provide for them. Not from zakat, from your own money. Because those are your parents. Okay, that's the cash. Now we want to move to business. If you own a house and you live in that house, do you have to give zakah? No. If you own 3 cars and you live in Didsbury like me, do you have, like me in Didsbury, I don't have 3 cars. Okay, do you have to give zakah? No, you don't have. Anything you use it, your house, your car, you don't have to give zakat. But if you don't use something or you do business with that, that's where the zakat now comes. For example, if I have a company and that I have permissible activity and I have a company, for in the end of every year I have to give zakah. For example, let me give you some examples because there is a lot of details in zakat. I can't go through it. But again, it's in fiqh class in Al Furqan YouTube. Number 1, suppose I have 10 apartments and I rent them to the people and I take money from that. Do I have to give zakat? Yes, in the end of year. How? It's just from the rent itself. Not go to the apartment, how much the apartment. No, it's just from the rent itself. For example, if I have a factory for cake or for anything, all the tools in that factory, I don't have to give zakat. But what comes from that factory from money, then I have to give zakah. So business, that's a type of business which I have something tangible, and that thing I can make money from it. So whatever money comes from that tangible thing, you have to give zakah. And there is a lot of examples for this. That's type number 1. Type number 2, I have, for example, I buy and sell cars. I don't rent the car. If you rent the car, you give zakat from the rent. But now you sell and buy cars. Suppose I have all this land, property, and I put many cars, and I sell and buy, sell and buy, sell and buy. In the end of the year, you have to give zakat from all this. You have to say how much all the cars I have now and give zakat from it. Because you earn a lot from this buying and selling. It's not something tangible, you make money from it. No, you sell and buy all these items, if that makes sense. If that's the case, then in the end of the year, you have to come to anyone. If you are not expert, you'll say how much this? 2.5% of the market price. That's another type also. So there's a lot of questions in zakat. I don't know if it's appropriate to go, but what I will do, I will open the Q&A sessions, and from your questions, we'll do that. I want to end with the recipients. Just to make it easy for you, recipients is just not your parents and your children. Zakat is not just for poor people. Another misconception. Zakat is not only for poor people. Yes, the majority of zakat should go to the poor people, but it's not only for the poor people. For example, can I give zakat to someone of my relatives who has a job and he own a house and he own a car? However, he has a debt, he can't afford it. Can I give zakat to him? Yes, I can. Because one of the zakat is gharimin, is those who have debts. I can give him zakat, then he pay that debt. Even if he has job, car, house, he is eligible for the zakat. So don't think zakat is for those people who don't have anything in this world. And no, that's not the case. Another also example, can I give zakat for a project that it will spread the message of Islam in the non-Muslims? That's fi sabilillah. Some people, they will do a project, and for that project I will invest, give from my zakat, because that project is for spread the message of Islam. That's another recipient of zakat. It's not, so zakat is not just for poor people. Yes, majority is for poor, but not. It's for debt, those who have debt. Sometimes Ibn Sabil, for example, a man who is rich in his back home, but he traveled, and during the traveling he lost his money. Usually this example is not nowadays, because we all have Visa card and all of these things, and he can call his bank. But in the past, if he lost his money, we should give him zakat till he came back to his country. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala abdihi wa rasuli sayyidina Muhammad. Alhamdulillah.